right, so that airport hack, I made a YouTube short, but I actually want to dive deeper into it because of the fact that a lot of you guys don't realize when things change, you gotta adapt, you gotta be ready to change. So stuff that I show that works for a while, if Uber changes stuff, well, there might need to be a shift in strategy. It's not necessarily just the area, but it's also how things work, because the map's different, reservations are different, airports are different, and that's the whole point. Everything is different, so when it changes, you got to change too. You got to learn to adapt, and that's why I'm making this videos. I'm going to explain a little bit more how the airport hack works. So, get it out, make sure it's clean. Alright, so airport hack. How do you do it? Well, anytime you could take somebody to the airport, you're going to literally skip everybody else that's waiting at that airport. Now, I've had it on Premier, still got Premier rides. I've had higher tiers, you're still going to get it. Now, it depends on the airport, but the reason why is you're dropping somebody off at the airport, the algorithm puts you as priority over everybody else to give you another ride because you took somebody to the airport. Now, it might be more a convenience thing. Maybe it's just a thing of, hey, thanks for taking them to the airport. I don't know, but that's how the algorithm works. Now, I don't like sitting at the airport because it doesn't make sense to sit there for an hour, especially at Lauderdale Airport. Even Palm Beach, that's smaller, it's not worth it. Now, I used to do it at Jacksonville, then I learned it wasn't really worth it. Now, if you notice too, they've taken away the reservation fee, so I'm not even sure if reservations actually are even worth it anymore. Probably just depends more on the price. But airport hack is, if you're not sitting there waiting for a reservation, if you're not like Uber Black and you've got a private client coming or whatever, if you're just sitting there waiting for a ride and you don't even know if you're gonna get one, it's not worth it these days. Now, you can check Gridwise. I do check Gridwise a lot to see if that airport's gonna be busy. That does help, but there is sometimes you can go there, there's not very many people there, you can get a ride pretty quick. But my rule of thumb is, if you're sitting there for longer than 15 minutes, you're really wasting time, you're losing money. And I showed the other day, I literally left the airport, showed you the waiting lot, Miami, it's too busy. So I left, went right down the street, this is 8 o'clock at night. I get a ride, XL ride to the Miami airport at like 8 o'clock at night. They told me they're not flying out till 11. So they're flying internationally, they were flying to Chile. So they said a lot of those flights are late at night because they get there early in the morning because of how long it is or how far of a trip it is. And then the time difference that they literally get there at like 7 in the morning. So just because it seems late doesn't mean you might not get a ride to the airport. I've gotten rides to the airport before too, where I had to take somebody to pick up their luggage. Now I had them do a return trip to bring them back, so I wasn't really trying to get a trip from the airport. But anytime you can get a ride to the airport, you're going to be guaranteed to get a ride from the airport. Now, I've even done it where I didn't accept the first offer or the second offer, and I still got another offer, still got a better ride before I even made it to the waiting lot. All right, so you're going to see on there on the screen where I showed you those airport trips. All right, so I dropped him off $45, 32 cents. Now, I'm at the waiting at the airport, just dropped him off Miami, but I only got Uber Premier on. I do not have Comfort. I mean, I got XL too, but I don't have Comfort. So we're gonna see if I get a good Premier trip. Well, I've gotten one out of two. I got Uber Business Premier and I got Uber Comfort last time. So I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna say, you know what? Let me get a Premier. It's super busy right now, so we'll see what happens. Got it. Told you. That's how you do it. Trips. I'm in Boca Raton. I get a trip. It's like $55 to the airport. Now, it was a Comfort ride. It wasn't that bad. Guy gave me a $30 tip. But I took that ride, even if it's a little bit less paying, even if it's Comfort, I'm trying to do Premier, whatever. The point is, I'm dropping off at the airport. I'm going to get pushed in front of everybody at the airport. Now, I'll show you what that airport looks like. You'll see hundreds of drivers sitting there hanging out like it's a tailgate party. Now, if you got a reservation, I understand it. Maybe you're Uber Black. Maybe you got a private client. That's where commercial vehicles got to sit. But I guarantee you, 90% of those people are waiting on a ride or waiting to get a ride that don't have a reservation, that are literally going to sit there for an hour or so. And then they're going to complain when they're like, look what Uber sent me. It's only a $20 ride. Well, you sat there for hours and then you really only made like $10. So it's not really worth it. Now, if you've been driving all day, you've been doing whatever you want to kind of take a break, you want to end with maybe a unicorn, you're not that stressed out, I can kind of understand that. So there is always that exception to the rule, but the main theory, main strategy is literally, if I ain't got somebody in the car, I'm not making money. That's why. So I got 54, 56. Now I dropped them off at gate 10. Now it says head to the waiting lot, which I'm gonna do, but I should get a ride right before I even get in the waiting lot, just because I dropped off already. So I got a comfort ride for about 30 bucks. Then the guy before gave me a 30-something tip. So I made almost $90 off that one ride. $26 off the ride before that. Now another 30 bucks, almost over $120 in just 3 rides on a Monday. That's why I'm going down to Miami to stay down there. It's because driving too much cuts into my time. I'm not having people ride back. I do catch some rides here and there, but it still costs me money. So the whole point is I need to be able to have people in my car at every moment that I can while I'm online, so I can make money, because without people in the car, well, you don't get paid by the hour, you get paid by the trip. Unless they book you hourly, that's a whole other different thing too, but not very many of you guys are gonna be booked hourly because you're not doing Uber Black or Premier hourly. And I've had Premier available. I've done plenty of Premier trips now from Tampa all the way to Miami, and I still yet to get booked hourly. So how often is that gonna happen? Probably very rarely, if people even do it. Some people told me they didn't even see it on there, didn't even know you could do that. So that might be more of an Uber Black tier that a lot of people don't know, or even maybe they don't even want to do it because it might be expensive. I don't know. I would like to get you one so I can show you what it looks like. But let's break down this airport hack so I can kind of explain it more, because it's not just getting lucky. There's a strategy to it, and then sometimes I've learned from trial and error that there's still a little bit more you have to pay attention to, and then there's some things that could go wrong that literally mess up that whole trick, and unfortunately there's nothing you can do about it, and I'll get into that also. So now when you drop off somebody at the airport, it's going to tell you automatically head to the waiting lot. Now sometimes you might get a ride before you drop them off. Sometimes you might get a ride as soon as you rate them and clear, and it says you're online finding trips. But if it doesn't immediately give you a ride before you leave the departure area, head to that waiting lot, because I made a mistake where I didn't head to the waiting lot and I lost that access to that trip. But I learned that if you head to the waiting lot, if you don't get it immediately, it just might not be that busy at the moment, which is why you want to check Gridwise to already know if it's busy or not. Once you start going towards that waiting lot, before you even get to the waiting lot, you're going to get a trip offer. So that's why you still head to the waiting lot, and you can still even wait there for a minute if you want, but you're going to be priority. You're still going to be ahead of everybody. That's the best way. That way you can still sit there for 15 minutes, maybe clean your car out, double check everything, and then get a ride and then be gone. And you're not sitting there wasting time like everybody else is. I mean, that's why I try to show. It's nothing against you guys that sit there at the airport, but I'm trying to show you why you shouldn't sit at the airport. Now you might be new and you see, oh, there's 200 drivers there, it must be busy. Uber will tell you, oh, hey, it's busy, you should go to the airport. But if you double check Gridwise, sometimes you'll notice that it's not even that busy, but there is some flights coming, but they're delayed or whatever. You're gonna end up sitting there for an hour and a half. Uber just wants to make sure you're there so that when those people decide to order an Uber, they don't have to go to Lyft or catch a cab or call somebody, because you're sitting there and there's somebody to take that trip for them. That is the whole purpose. They will lie to you no matter what to get you to do something, because at the end of the day, all they want you to do is take the ride, whether it's worth it for you or not. As long as it puts money in their account, that's what matters. That's why they'll tell you whatever they got to tell you. But that's where Gridwise really comes in handy, because you can double check. When Uber says, hey, it's busy, you should go to the airport, you can say, well, let me see if it is. Then you check that graph, looks busy. Then you go check flight details, that looks busy. And what I'll do too is I'll show you how that works and give you a little bit more in-depth rundown, because I know a lot of you guys might see stuff, but you don't go back and watch other stuff I've already done. So I've learned now I'm just going to start redoing stuff periodically so that you guys will know what I'm talking about, so you don't have to go fish through all my content to try to find it. Even though I'll set it up better, still make it easier on you. That's all I want to try to do. But that's the best way to do it. It works, and I can even prove it. I even showed you in the videos how I did it every time. So don't ever pause that trip though when you're going to the airport. Now in Jacksonville, I used to pause it before I got to the airport, and then I dropped them off, because sometimes it will send you rides that aren't from the airport in different areas, and it could kind of kick you to the back, or at least say it does, but it's not necessarily going to do it, because if you're dropping off, you're going to get a ride. But don't leave it paused. Don't try to catch a surge. Just leave it on. Don't accept the rides if it doesn't make any sense, if it's not from the airport. Because my rule of thumb is, if I'm going to the airport, I'm not trying to pick somebody up anywhere else but from the airport, because I went to the airport, and that's the way to get those rides, is to drop somebody off and pick somebody up. I showed you guys, it works. So now I'm going to show you and explain to you more how that Uber, how Gridwise works when you're doing with the airport. So now I'm going to do a screen recording. Now I'm going to show you right now what you're going to see. It's just going to pull up my regular thing. It's got the mileage, it's got my earnings, it's got all that stuff. You're going to go down to the bottom. You're going to click the airports. Now I got PBI, which is Palm Beach International Airport. You got Fort Lauderdale Airport. I got Miami, and then I got RSW, which is probably over there towards Naples or something. I'm not really 100% sure which that one is. But we're going to do Palm Beach first. Now you see it, 11 o'clock. They got 419 people landing. Then they got 591 people in it. But it looks busy, right? Then you got to go to flight details. But you got to go back some. You got to go back till 10:30. Now, you had people en route, but they haven't landed yet. So that means wherever they're coming from, there could be weather issues, or they're just behind because something with the pilots or the stewardess or whatever. So you want to look for the ones that landed. So Palm Beach, not too crazy right now. I'm not going down there, but it doesn't matter. Now we're going to go back. We're going to look at Fort Lauderdale. So now Fort Lauderdale, you're looking at 596 people, 1,200 or 1,300 people, another 1,300 people. But it looks busy, right? Go to flight details. Now you're going to go back, because you got to remember, right? These people land. You got to taxi to the where they drop you out of it. You got to walk off the plane, which 220 people, that's a lot of people, depending on where you're sitting. You got to go grab your luggage. Then you got to go walk through the airport and get out there to where the Uber pickup zone is, or the rideshare pickup. So that's about 30, 45 minutes. Now they could have a backpack. They could be in and out of there in maybe 10 minutes, but you never know. So you got to kind of go back 30 minutes and look what has landed in the past 30 minutes, because those people are most likely ready. And if they're not, then other people start coming too. But you want to at least look 30 minutes behind. So it's 10:30. I'm going to go back till 10 o'clock. Now at 10 o'clock, you got all those en route, scheduled en route. That means they probably haven't landed yet, but they probably will be. It depends on where you're at, to how you got to gauge it. Now when you get closer, you get in the waiting lot. If you're going to sit there for a couple minutes, go back, always double check it. But I try to explain too. I know people said, hey, that graph lies to you too. No, the graph's not always accurate. The graph gives you a basic idea of, is it busy or not? Then you go to flight details. That's where you're going to see exactly which planes landed. Now, if you got 200 people that landed, how many of those people are actually going to order a Lyft, or order an Uber, or order black car service, or order a cab, or they have their car at the parking lot, or family picking them up? Well, that's a lot of different options they have. So that means 222 people, 189 people, all these different seats. Maybe a quarter or less might try to order Uber, but they might go with Lyft if it's cheaper. Or they might know somebody in that area that does private rides, that they have their car, they're waiting on them. Or their car's at the park there, or they have family coming to get them, whatever. And you got a cab company. So there's a lot of different options people have. So you always need to be prepared, saying, all right, 30 or 45 minutes ago. All right, so now I pretty much showed you Gridwise, how to use that to get an idea if it's going to be busy when you get to the airport. Then I told you that if you drop off at the airport, you're going to get a ride before you leave that airport. Now, you're also going to have to drive to the waiting lot, maybe sit there for 5 minutes. Depends on how busy it is. That's where Gridwise comes in handy, because that way you know if it's busy. Is it worth me waiting? Am I going to get a trip right back to back? Because no matter how late it is or how early it is, there's always a chance you might get a ride. But sometimes you got to be careful, because sometimes there'll be a car rental place, so the price will be less money. You might even pick up an employee. You never know. But definitely want to ride from the airport if you're dropping off, because usually paying pretty good. Just make sure that you have enough gas in your vehicle to do it. But that's the airport hack for you guys. Always drop off at the airport. You're going to be guaranteed to pick up. But I did forget to mention, there is one little twist that can happen. It happened to me. Now, if you do accept that trip, but now one thing that can happen is if you do accept that trip and you drop off and somebody orders a ride, you hit accept, exclusive, whatever, and you get it, and it put you en route, but because you're dropping off, you're gonna have to loop back around. So always text that passenger, because it's gonna show you on top of them. Say, hey, look, I just dropped off, I gotta pull back around. Because they might think, because of all these scammy drivers, that you're driving off, even though you haven't started the ride, that you're driving off and trying to get them to pay a cancellation fee. So always communicate. Say, hey, look, I just dropped off, I got to pull back around, because it's going to show you on top of them. But most places, departures and arrivals are in two different spots. They don't like you picking up people in the departures, so you've got to be mindful of that. You got to follow the rules of the airport, because especially down south, I've seen them where cops are coming to arrest people, they're going to give you a ticket, and they're a lot stricter at busier, bigger airports. Now, Jacksonville, they're not that bad. You can sit there and hang out sometimes, but Orlando, they're going to blow a whistle at you. Fort Lauderdale, they're going to tell you to keep moving. They even yelled at me the way I parked one time, which wasn't really that big of a deal, but I learned too is sometimes people really, they're having a bad day. If they can take it out on you, they will. So no harm done, no big deal. All I did was back up, move, got people's luggage out, and I took off. I didn't say nothing smart, didn't get an attitude, just said, okay, no problem, let me do it, and then I'm on my way. It's the easiest way to do it, and sometimes you're going to have to deal with stuff like that, but that's the way. Communication is key. You got to tell people, hey, look, pulling back around, it shows me on top of you, and they might not even be paying attention, but that saves you from getting canceled. Because back to what I was trying to say anyways, is if they do cancel that ride, there's a good chance it might hurt you to where you don't skip everybody, because you took that ride and now you're back to a regular person. So be mindful of that. That's why you want to communicate, because if they do cancel, I mean, the guy lost a $34 Premier ride, got $7.18 for him canceling, but all it was is I had to pull around. But then even then, sometimes it's hard to text them while you're trying to drive, navigate all the traffic in the airport. So be mindful of that. Even if you got to pull real quick, say, hey, look, I got to pull back around, I just dropped somebody off, I'll be there in a second. That's the best way to do it. Communication is key, and sometimes it's hard to communicate because you're driving, you can't do so much. That's understandable, but always try to communicate with people, because it makes life so much easier for you and for them, and people really do appreciate it, because at the end of the day, all they're trying to do is to get wherever they're going, and they need your help doing it, and they're going to pay you to do it. That's the whole point of ordering an Uber. So like and subscribe, guys. I hope this airport hack helps. It does work, and I've showed you, and I'll continue to show more of it. I'll put some on TikTok, I'll put some on YouTube, but thank you, guys. Don't forget, Gridwise 14-day trial. It does help out. And I do got the dash cam. I got Vantrue. It really works very good. I'm going to break that down here soon too. But thank you, guys. Got to get everything situated, because I'm heading down south today, and I'm going to be staying in Miami. All right, so I'm going to show you a little bit about this Vantrue dash cam I got. This is the N5S, top of the line. Does come with an app. Does have Wi-Fi. It's got 4 cameras, but you can see right here, it's got all the different camera things. So you push it right here, it'll turn it on, which of course now it turns off when I'm trying to do something. But you're gonna have all the different camera angles. It's got front, back, all that stuff. Then it's going to come with an app. Now, it does have an SD card. Your SD card's going to go on the side right there. You just pop it out. That thing covers it. Now, I do have another camera in the very back there. Then I have this camera. And it does come with a little charge that I have down there at the bottom. I had it wired in there, hardwired, so it's got parking mode. It does take pictures. I have a 156 gigabyte SD card. I think it could hold 256. But that old dash cam I had only had 32 gigs, so I had to constantly change it out. Now you got more cameras. More cameras are going to mean more footage. It's going to take up more space. You're going to have to either reformat that card while you're driving if nothing happens, or you're going to have to take it out and download the footage. Keep it on your computer in case something happens. You got it for a week or two or whatever. That way if somebody says something, you got the footage to back it up. Or if you get in an accident, if you get hit, or also... it's also if you need it for whatever other reasons, you got the dash cam. But my main thing is safety. 1, somebody breaks in the car. 2, somebody hits the car. Or 3, somebody tries to say whatever happened during an Uber trip. Well, I got footage to back it up, because, you know, all I'm trying to do is get you from point A to point B. Then I'm going to show you what the actual app looks like, because it does come with an app. You're going to have the Vantrue app right here. And now it's got all that stuff. You can connect the device, you got a store, you got an account, you got all that stuff. Makes a huge difference. Dash cam Venture works great. Now I do have Wi-Fi on that, so you connect the app to it, but I also have Wi-Fi in the car, so they kind of fight each other for it. But it does take pictures when you go through red lights. The car comes by, it'll take pictures. It has different settings. It has different it's got different levels that it can do. So get out, make sure it's clean.